The marketplace was alive with colors and sounds that no human had ever experienced before. Stalls stretched for hundreds of meters, filled with objects that seemed both familiar and alien at the same time. Floating carts hovered above the walkways, selling spices that smelled sweeter than any flower on Earth, and liquids that shimmered like liquid stars. Aliens of every shape, size, and color moved between the stalls, their voices forming a strange, musical language that echoed in the giant dome overhead. Amara, a young alien woman from the planet Veloria, moved carefully through the crowd. She had always been proud of her independence and her skill in trading rare technologies. Today, however, her mind was unsettled. A few hours ago, she had been approached by a human. He was tall, with an easy confidence that somehow made him stand out even in this diverse marketplace. He had looked at her with a kind of curiosity that she was not used to, as if he were trying to understand her without judging her. "You are Amara, right?" he had asked in flawless Velorian, though she could see a flicker of his human accent in his tone. "I need your help with something unusual." But this human, his name was Daniel, had a calm way about him. He didn't seem reckless at all. "What do you want?" Amara had asked, folding her arms. Her tail flicked nervously behind her. "I need someone who understands Velorian tech. I need guidance, but I also need your cooperation in a personal matter," Daniel had said carefully. Amara raised an eyebrow. "A personal matter? That is vague." "Be precise." "You don't have to accept it, but I hope you will." "I will hear what you want." Amara was skeptical. She had studied Velorian biology all her life, and she knew the risks. "Are you certain you understand what you are asking?" she asked. "This is not just science, it is responsibility." "I am asking for your guidance, not for anything else." The two began their work immediately. In a small lab tucked away in the corner of the marketplace, Amara explained the Velorian process in detail. She used models, diagrams, and even holographic simulations to show how the procedure could be performed safely. Daniel listened attentively, asked questions at every step, and made careful notes. Unlike many of the other beings she had taught, he did not rush, did not make careless assumptions, and did not challenge her knowledge with pride. Instead, he absorbed everything, testing his understanding through thoughtful experiments and calculations. As the hours passed, Amara found herself smiling more than she had in weeks. Daniel had a quiet humor that revealed itself in small ways, a grin when a simulation worked perfectly, a laugh when a test produced unexpected but harmless results. There was an innocence to his curiosity, but also a seriousness that surprised her. He respected her expertise, and she respected his sincerity. One evening, as the twin moons of Veloria rose high in the sky, casting silver light over the marketplace, Daniel looked at her with a question in his eyes. "Amara, do you trust me?" "I am learning too," she said slowly. "But trust must be earned, and you are earning it." The marketplace around them continued its chaotic rhythm, but inside the lab, a sense of calm and purpose prevailed. Amara began to notice subtle changes in herself. She felt a strange warmth when Daniel succeeded at a difficult step, a thrill of anticipation when a procedure went smoothly, and a growing admiration for the way he respected her boundaries and knowledge. The bond they formed was not sudden, but it grew steadily, like a vine reaching toward the sun. Daniel shared stories of his homeworld, of the humans' resilience, curiosity, and humor. He spoke of challenges he had faced, not with pride, but with reflection. Amara found herself laughing at his anecdotes, sometimes shaking her head in disbelief at his human ways. She realized that humans were unpredictable not because they were reckless, but because they saw possibilities where others saw limits. One afternoon, as they reviewed the latest simulation, Daniel paused. "Amara," he said, "I have been thinking, this procedure, it is not just science. It is a way to connect our worlds. It is a way to create something entirely new together. Perhaps it is possibility." She reminded herself that they were partners in science, nothing more, yet the feeling lingered like a gentle hum in the background. The final phase of the procedure approached, and Amara explained every detail with meticulous care. "This is the moment where caution is paramount," she said. "We must follow each step exactly. Any deviation could have unexpected consequences, even if we understand the science perfectly." The lab was filled with quiet concentration, broken only by the soft hum of machines and the occasional note of observation. Hours later, the procedure was complete. Amara checked the results carefully, her antennae twitching in satisfaction. "Everything looks perfect," she said. The process was successful, safely, and as planned. "We did it," he said softly. I could not have done this without you." Not because they were stronger or faster, but because they combined curiosity with respect, thoughtfulness with courage, and determination with humility. In Daniel, she saw the best of what humanity could offer, and perhaps, she thought with a quiet thrill, a hint of friendship and trust that went beyond science. As the two of them packed away the equipment and prepared to leave the lab, Amara glanced at Daniel. "You have learned much," she said. "Not just about Valorian science, but about patience, respect, and responsibility. Perhaps I have learned too from you. And perhaps this is only the beginning." This human, this rare, strange, remarkable human had entered her life, and in doing so had shown her that the galaxy was bigger, more surprising, and more connected than she had ever imagined. As they stepped out into the neon glow of the marketplace, Amara felt a spark of anticipation. The procedure had worked, the bond had begun, and the possibilities were endless. The weeks that followed were a mixture of learning, laughter, and quiet moments that neither Amara nor Daniel had expected. The lab had become a small sanctuary for the two of them, tucked away from the chaos of the Valorian marketplace. Here, surrounded by glowing panels, floating holograms, and shelves filled with alien devices, they explored not just science, but the strange overlap of their two worlds. Daniel had begun to understand the subtleties of Valorian biology more quickly than Amara had anticipated. He asked questions with careful thought, never assuming, always testing, and always showing respect for her knowledge. Amara, in turn, found herself enjoying the process of teaching him. Explaining complex concepts in simple terms was a challenge she had not expected to enjoy, but Daniel's patience and genuine interest made every explanation rewarding. One morning, as twin suns rose over the city, painting the streets in hues of gold and crimson, Amara brought a small device over to Daniel's work table. "This is a monitoring module," she said, placing it carefully in his hands. "It will track vital signals and indicators during the procedure. You must understand how it works before we proceed further. Valorians have an elegance in their technology that is unlike anything I have ever seen." "Very well, I will teach you how it functions." Each time he made a minor mistake, Amara corrected him gently, never scolding, only explaining and guiding. By midday, Daniel had a solid understanding. He leaned back in his chair, letting out a small laugh. "I never imagined science could be so alive. Every device, every process seems to have its own personality. Perhaps you are beginning to see why we respect balance and precision in Valorian science. A mistake is not just an error. It can ripple through the system in unexpected ways. You humans often rush, but here, patience is more important than speed. I want this to succeed, not just for me, but for you and for the potential life it could create." She realized that humans, for all their simplicity compared to Valorians, had a depth of thought that could surprise even the most cautious alien. Days turned into evenings, and evenings into nights, as they continued their careful work. They shared meals in the lab, often laughing over the small differences between human and Valorian cuisine. Daniel tried Valorian fermented fruits, making a face that caused Amara to laugh so hard she nearly toppled a floating holographic display. In return, she sampled some of his Earth-made protein bars, which she found surprisingly satisfying. One evening, after a long day of experiments, Daniel looked up from his notes. "Amara, I have been thinking about how humans create families. On Earth, it is a mix of biology, choice, and care. But it is also about trust, trust between people, and trust in the future. And we know that the only way to manage it is through trust, patience, and collaboration. Without trust, even the best plans fail." Perhaps they had a strength that came not from physical ability, but from their ability to connect, to care, and to hope. The next few weeks brought them closer, not in ways that were romantic, but in ways that built deep respect and understanding. They shared stories of their worlds, laughed over small mistakes in their work, and occasionally simply sat in silence, enjoying the quiet hum of the lab and the soft glow of the monitoring devices. Amara noticed herself feeling a strange anticipation when Daniel succeeded at a particularly difficult task. She also noticed that she trusted him more than any human she had ever encountered, or even any Valorian for that matter. One day, as they reviewed the latest set of simulations, Daniel spoke hesitantly. "Amara, I have read about Valorian culture, about how you prepare for new life. I think I understand the process now, but I want to make sure I respect it completely. There are details I need to know about care, about guidance, about nurturing. They are designed to ensure that any new life is respected, protected, and nurtured. If you wish to participate, you must learn them fully. She told him about the subtle ways Valorians communicate with new life, even before it is born, through vibrations, energy flows, and careful alignment of their environment. Daniel listened intently, taking meticulous notes, asking thoughtful questions, and testing his understanding in small, careful experiments. One evening, as the twin moons shone through the lab windows, Daniel looked at her seriously. Amara, I want to thank you. You are teaching me not just science, but patience, responsibility, and respect. I have never met anyone like you. There was a steadiness in him, a quiet strength that reminded her that humans could be extraordinary in their own ways. And you, she said slowly, are learning, not just about Valorian life, but about how to honor it. That is rare. Daniel began to anticipate outcomes, suggesting adjustments that even Amara had not considered. She realized that he was not simply following her instructions. He was thinking, observing, and integrating knowledge in a way that showed creativity and insight. One afternoon, as they were recalibrating the monitoring modules, Daniel laughed softly. I think I finally understand why Valorians enjoy precision so much. There is satisfaction in creating balance, in achieving harmony between variables. It is peaceful in a way I did not expect. You humans often overlook that, but you are beginning to understand. The thought that a new life could be created from their combined efforts, life that symbolized connection, trust, and collaboration, filled her with awe. One evening, after a long day of testing and observation, Daniel looked at her seriously. Amara, I have thought about the consequences, the responsibilities, and the future. If this works, if life is created, I want to be ready. I want to participate fully with respect, guidance, and care. I want to do this right. I am learning from the best. It was a demonstration of what could be achieved when humans and Valorians worked together, respecting one another, learning from one another, and combining their strengths. As the lab lights dimmed for the night, Amara and Daniel packed away their tools, their minds filled with anticipation for what was to come. Outside, the marketplace continued its vibrant chaos, unaware of the careful, precise, and respectful work happening in one small corner. Inside, however, something extraordinary was beginning, a bond built on trust, respect, and the shared hope of creating life together. Amara watched Daniel as he carefully secured the last module. There was a quiet determination in him, a rare combination of curiosity and patience that made her heart swell with admiration. She realized that humans were capable of greatness not in spite of their simplicity, but because of it. They could approach the universe with wonder, creativity, and a deep respect for life. As they left the lab, the twin moons casting long shadows on the streets, Amara felt a spark of excitement she had never experienced before. They had not yet created life, but the foundation had been laid. Trust had been built, understanding had been achieved, and the possibility of something extraordinary shimmered in the air around them. For the first time in her life, Amara realized that science, trust, and collaboration could produce something far greater than knowledge alone. It could produce hope, connection, and the beginning of a shared future. And with Daniel by her side, she felt ready to face whatever came next. The lab was quieter than usual that morning. The twin suns of Veloria had not yet fully risen, and the soft hum of the monitoring devices filled the space with a calm, steady rhythm. Amara moved carefully among the equipment, her mind focused on the next phase of their work. Daniel was already there, adjusting a module with precise movements, his brow furrowed in concentration. You seem more focused than usual, Amara said, approaching him. Daniel looked up and smiled faintly. I am. This next phase, it feels important, not just for the procedure, but for everything we have been building. Every step had been taken with precision, every variable considered. And yet, there was a sense of anticipation that could not be measured or calculated. Something beyond science was at work, trust, understanding, and perhaps even the faintest hint of hope. They began their work in silence, speaking only when necessary, their movements synchronized like a carefully rehearsed dance. Amara guided, Daniel executed, and together they followed each step with meticulous care. The monitoring modules tracked every vital signal, every subtle energy fluctuation, and every biological response. As the hours passed, a sense of calm settled over them. The initial tension of anticipation had eased, replaced by a quiet confidence. Daniel's competence had grown tremendously over the past weeks, and Amara found herself marveling at his ability to adapt and learn. He was not just following instructions, he was thinking, observing, and adjusting in ways that showed creativity and insight. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Amara leaned back and studied the data. Her antennae twitched as she reviewed the results. "Daniel," she said slowly, her voice tinged with awe, "the procedure, it is working. Everything is stable, all indicators are normal. The process has succeeded. We actually did it. I want to honor the process, and I want to respect you in every way." Amara taught Daniel how to interpret subtle signals, how to respond to minor fluctuations, and how to create an environment that encouraged stability and growth. They adjusted temperatures, regulated energy flows, and fine-tuned the monitoring modules, all with painstaking care. Daniel approached every step with patience and thoughtfulness. He asked questions, made careful observations, and never acted without guidance. Amara was impressed by his dedication, but more than that, she felt a growing respect, and perhaps even a quiet affection for him. He was more than a human, he was a partner, a collaborator, and a source of inspiration. One evening, as the twin moons cast their silver light across the lab, Daniel paused and looked at Amara. "I have been thinking," he said softly, "about the potential of what we have created. If it succeeds fully, it will be something extraordinary, something that connects our worlds in a way no one has imagined. But extraordinary things require extraordinary care. We must remain vigilant, responsible, and considerate at every step. Life is delicate, and even small mistakes can have large consequences." She felt a quiet excitement at each successful observation, a thrill at the stability of the process, and an anticipation for what was to come. She also felt a growing sense of connection to Daniel. Not romantic, not in the way most would think, but a deep, mutual respect, and understanding that neither of them could ignore. Then one morning, as Amara was reviewing the latest data, a subtle signal appeared on the monitoring module, a signal that indicated a critical milestone had been reached. She studied it carefully, her antennae twitching in concentration. "Daniel," she said, her voice calm but tinged with excitement, "the indicators, they show that the procedure has advanced to a new stage. The potential life is developing as expected. You have followed every step perfectly, and it has paid off. We must continue to guide and protect it, to respect it fully, and to ensure that it thrives." Daniel listened attentively, applying every lesson with care and precision. During this time, they also shared moments of quiet reflection. They talked about their homes, their cultures, and their hopes for the future. Daniel spoke of Earth, of humans' resilience, creativity, and capacity for connection. Amara shared stories of Veloria, of its rich history, technological marvels, and the values that guided her people. Through these conversations, a deep bond formed between them. They began to trust each other completely, relying not just on knowledge and skill, but on intuition, empathy, and mutual understanding. Amara found herself smiling at Daniel's small gestures, the way he adjusted the modules gently, the careful way he recorded observations, and the quiet thoughtfulness in his eyes. One afternoon, as they observed the latest readings, Daniel spoke softly. "Amara, I have been thinking about what this life represents. It is more than biology. It is connection, trust, and hope. It is a bridge between our worlds. I want to be worthy of the trust you have placed in me. Everything is normal, but it is flourishing. You have respected every step, every instruction, every precaution. That is what makes this possible." One evening, as they reviewed the latest data, Daniel looked at Amara with a mixture of awe and humility. "Amara, I never imagined that humans could participate in this way, that we could contribute to life beyond our own species. It is incredible. Not just because of strength or intelligence, but because of curiosity, patience, and respect. You have all of those qualities, and that is why this is possible." They shared a simple meal in the lab, laughing softly at minor mistakes in the day's observations, and marveling at the subtle signals of growth that filled the monitoring modules. In the quiet moments that followed, Amara felt a deep sense of wonder. The bond between her and Daniel had grown stronger, built on trust, respect, and shared purpose. The life they were nurturing was a symbol of that bond, a promise of what could be achieved when two very different beings worked together with care and integrity. As the twin moons rose, casting silver light across the lab, Amara and Daniel sat together, watching the modules hum softly. There was a sense of anticipation, yes, but also a sense of fulfillment. They had reached a critical milestone, one that few beings in the galaxy could ever hope to achieve. And they had done it together, with respect, care, and understanding. For the first time, Amara allowed herself to imagine the future, the life that was developing, the connection between their worlds, and the extraordinary possibilities that lay ahead. With Daniel by her side, she felt ready to face whatever came next, confident that they could guide this new life safely, wisely, and with compassion. The lab was quiet that morning, but the air seemed charged with a sense of anticipation. Amara had been reviewing the monitoring modules since dawn, watching the subtle signals of growth that had begun to emerge more strongly over the past days. Daniel entered quietly, carrying a tray with 2 steaming cups of a Valorian herbal drink. The aroma was soothing, earthy, and slightly sweet. "Good morning," Daniel said softly, setting the tray down on a clean counter. "I thought you might like something warm before we start." "That is thoughtful." She poured herself a cup and inhaled the comforting scent. "We have reached an important stage. I want to observe the readings carefully today. Any mistake, any oversight could have consequences, though I trust your diligence. Every step, every measurement, I will follow your guidance exactly." Hours passed in focused silence. Occasionally, Daniel would ask a question or make an observation, and Amara would respond patiently, explaining the reasoning behind each detail. She found herself struck by his capacity to absorb knowledge, to apply it, and to anticipate outcomes. His human way of combining curiosity with caution was unlike anything she had seen in Valorian students or even colleagues. As midday approached, Amara's antennae twitched in excitement. "Daniel, the readings," she said softly, gesturing to the monitoring module. "They indicate that the life we are nurturing is stable and progressing beautifully. The energy flow is consistent, the vital signals are optimal. It is flourishing. Everything we have done, every precaution we have taken has contributed to this moment. You have honored every step, every instruction. That is why it is thriving. It is incredible. Not because of strength or speed, but because of thought, care, and the ability to understand consequences. You are proving that now." It was not love in the traditional sense, but it was admiration, respect, and a deepening bond built on trust and shared purpose. "And that is why we have succeeded," she said. "Together, carefully, thoughtfully, that is the only way to create life responsibly." Daniel's skills improved steadily, and Amara found herself relying on him not only for execution but for thoughtful suggestions. His human perspective often revealed subtle patterns that she had overlooked, and together they refined the environment for the developing life. One afternoon, as they were reviewing the latest readings, Daniel paused. "Amara, I have been thinking. Once this life reaches maturity, it will change everything. Not just for us, but for our worlds. It will be a symbol, a connection, and a reminder of what is possible. Every decision we make affects more than just the procedure." Her antennae twitched and her eyes widened. "Daniel, look at this. That is incredible. I feel responsible and I want to do everything right." They shared simple meals in the lab, occasionally laughing at minor mishaps or miscommunications and marveling at the progress they were seeing. Daniel tried to pronounce Valorian words correctly, often stumbling and prompting soft laughter from Amara. She, in turn, experimented with human idioms and expressions, which made him smile with a mixture of confusion and amusement. One afternoon, as they reviewed a series of energy flow readings, Daniel spoke softly. "Amara, I cannot believe how extraordinary this is. We are not just observing life. We are guiding it, shaping it, ensuring it thrives. It is a responsibility unlike any I have ever faced. Few beings in the galaxy have the opportunity to nurture life in this way, and even fewer do so with such care and respect." She felt a quiet excitement at each successful observation, a thrill at the stability of the process, and a growing sense of anticipation for what was to come. She also noticed the bond between herself and Daniel deepening, built on shared purpose, trust, and respect. One evening, as they finished their observations, Daniel turned to her with a question in his eyes. "Amara, I have been thinking. What if the life we are nurturing is more than just a result of the procedure? What if it is a symbol, a sign of what humans and Valorians can achieve together?" "Perhaps you are right," she said slowly. "It is more than biology. It is a message and we must continue to honor that message with care, thoughtfulness, and responsibility. Amara reviewed the data meticulously, her antennae twitching with satisfaction. Daniel, the development is extraordinary. Everything is progressing perfectly. The life is stable, strong, and healthy. It is profound. Amara taught, Daniel learned and applied, and together they observed, adjusted, and nurtured. The lab became a place of quiet wonder, filled with the subtle hum of the monitoring devices and the occasional laughter or soft comment about their progress. Then, one morning, as they reviewed the latest readings, Amara's antennae twitched sharply. She leaned closer to the module and studied the signals. Her voice trembled slightly with excitement. Daniel, the life, it is moving. It is responding to our care, to our guidance. Everything is healthy. It is growing exactly as it should. I want to do everything right for you, for the life, and for what it represents. We are witnessing something extraordinary because we have worked together. It was a presence, a reality, a living testament to trust, collaboration, and the extraordinary potential of humans and Valorians working together. For the first time, Amara allowed herself to imagine the future, a life that would connect their worlds, a bond that would endure, and the extraordinary possibilities that lay ahead. With Daniel by her side, she felt ready for whatever came next, confident that they could guide this life safely, wisely, and with compassion. The lab was quiet in the early hours of the morning, bathed in the gentle glow of Valoria's twin suns just beginning to rise. Amara moved carefully among the monitoring modules, her antennae twitching with a mix of anticipation and awe. The last weeks had been filled with observation, careful adjustments, and steady growth of the life they were nurturing together. Today, however, felt different. Something in the readings had shifted slightly, subtly, almost imperceptibly, but enough to make her heart quicken. Daniel entered the lab carrying a small tray of warm drinks, just as he had done countless times before. He paused when he saw Amara's expression, sensing her heightened focus. "Good morning," he said softly. "You seem excited." That is incredible. Are you certain?" The subtle energy pulses that had once seemed faint were now strong, consistent, and full of vitality. Every module reflected stability and growth. Amara's tail flicked lightly as she interpreted the readings. "Daniel, this is extraordinary. The development is complete for this stage. The life we have nurtured is fully viable." "Viable, alive, real? I can't believe it. We actually did it. We created life together." "That is why this succeeded." Daniel turned to Amara, his eyes reflecting a mixture of wonder and humility. "Amara, I never imagined I could be part of something so profound. Not just life, but a connection between our worlds, a symbol of collaboration and hope. I feel responsible. I want to do everything right from this moment forward." Your care, your thoughtfulness, your respect, they are all reflected in the life itself. This is more than procedure. It is partnership, it is trust, it is hope. Daniel's skill and attentiveness had grown immensely, and Amara found herself marveling at the way he integrated his understanding with her guidance. He suggested subtle improvements to the energy balance and even noted small patterns she had not observed. Together, they had become more than teacher and student. They had become equals, collaborators, and guardians of a new life. Finally, as the sun reached its zenith, Amara noticed a subtle but unmistakable change in the readings. She felt her heart quicken. "Daniel, look at this," she said softly, pointing to the console. "The life is moving more actively now. The signals show a unique biological rhythm. This confirms it. The life is fully established. The procedure has succeeded completely. That is why this life is thriving. But remember, responsibility continues. Nurturing life requires continued attention, understanding, and guidance. We cannot grow complacent." They adjusted energy flows, monitored vital signals, and ensured that environmental conditions remained optimal. But alongside the scientific tasks, there were moments of quiet reflection, shared laughter, and thoughtful conversation. One evening, Daniel spoke softly as they reviewed the latest readings. "Amara, I have been thinking about what this life represents. It is more than biology. It is hope. It is a connection between humans and Valorians. It is proof that we can work together, respect each other, and create something extraordinary. Every action we take now, every moment of attention, every decision we make, contributes to the message it represents." Humans were often underestimated, but Daniel had shown extraordinary patience, insight, and respect. And together we have succeeded. That is what matters. That is the power of trust, collaboration, and careful thought. That the process has worked fully. I want to do everything possible to nurture it, guide it, and protect it. You have proven yourself capable. Amara found herself impressed, not just by his knowledge, but by his thoughtfulness and commitment. Then one evening, as they reviewed the latest readings, Daniel looked at Amara with a mixture of awe and humility. Amara, I never imagined that humans could participate in this way, that we could be part of creating life beyond our own species. It is incredible. Humans are capable of great things, Daniel, not because of physical strength, but because of thought, patience, curiosity, and respect. You have shown all of these qualities. That is why this succeeded. That trust, it has made all the difference. Finally, as the twin moons rose high above the city, casting their silver glow across the lab, Amara and Daniel sat quietly, observing the monitoring modules. The life they had nurtured was no longer just data, no longer just a procedure. It was real, thriving, and full of potential. Daniel turned to her, his voice soft. Amara, we did it. Together we created life. Something extraordinary, something that connects our worlds. I cannot express how much this means. This is hope, responsibility, and the beginning of something extraordinary. For the first time, Amara allowed herself to imagine what lay ahead. A life that would connect their worlds, a bond that would endure, and the extraordinary possibilities that collaboration, trust, and care could create. With Daniel by her side, she felt ready for anything. Together, they had accomplished something that few beings in the galaxy could ever hope to achieve. Together, they had created life, and in that moment the possibilities felt endless.